have your next witness?
I do. I'm also going to call Sarah Levinson.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Do solemnly swear the evidence given to the court and jury in the case now and hearing should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I'm sorry.
Good morning. All right, Mr. Brennan, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Sarah Levinson.
For the court reporter, would you mind spelling your last name?
So it's Sarah with an H and then Levinson.
Ms. Levinson, do you mind if I ask how old you are?
I'm 26. I'll be 27 next month.
Do you work?
Yes.
What do you do?
I'm a nurse.
How long have you been a nurse for?
About 4 years.
Before you became a nurse, did you go to school?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your educational background, please.
I got my bachelor's at Regis College.
Do you know a person by the name of Ryan Nagel?
Yes.
How do you know him?
He's one of my good friend Julie's older brothers.
You mentioned Julie. What's Julie's name?
Juliana Nagel.
Are you friends with Julie Nagel?
Yes.
To this day?
Yes.
Were you with Miss Nagel back on January 28, 2022?
Yes.
I want you to take us back to that day, the earlier evening hours of January 28, 2022, maybe around 5 or 6 p.m. Did you have a plan that day?
Yes, we as in myself and Julie, were going to Brian Albert Jr.'s house to celebrate his birthday, which was the next day.
Who was Brian Albert Jr. to you at that time?
One of my good friends.
How long had you known Brian Albert Jr. for?
At that point, probably 8 or 9 years, I would say.
Did you attend school with him?
Yes, high school.
Is that when you met Brian Albert Jr. in high school?
Yes.
Who was going to Brian Albert Jr.'s house with you?
Just myself and Julie.
Did you have a general plan for that evening other than to visit your friend and celebrate his birthday?
It was kind of up in the air if we were going to stay there or go somewhere, but we were definitely going and celebrating with him.
Do you know the address where Brian Albert Jr. lived?
Yes.
Could you share that with us?
34 Fairview Road, I believe.
Had you been to 34 Fairview Road before?
Yes.
Did you know Brian Albert Jr.'s family?
Yes.
Had you met them in the past?
Yes.
How often had you met with them before?
Well, I was friends with him for, like I said, about 8 years, so I knew his older sister, Caitlin, pretty well. We went to high school together, but the younger siblings, I don't believe we overlapped in school. And then his mother I had met, a good amount of times, and then his father, too, I would say.
How many times would you estimate you had been over 34 Fairview prior to the night of January 28, 2022?
Over the years, maybe like 20. I don't know.
Do you remember what time you arrived at 34 Fairview Road on that evening?
It was between 7 and 8 o'clock at night.
Who did you go with?
Myself and Julie Nagel.
Could you tell us how both you and Julie Nagel got from where you were living, your home, to 34 Fairview?
Yes, Julie's dad drove us.
When you first get to 34 Fairview Road, before you walk in the front door, what's the weather like outside?
It was cold, but it wasn't raining or snowing or anything.
No snow on the ground?
No.
When you walked in the door, did you go in the side door or the front door?
The side door.
Okay. Take us through walking into the house. What do you see?
So we walked through the side door, and then it's their, family room, they call it. with like the TV and everything. And then at the back of the family room is like a sliding glass door out into their porch. And then if you turn left, it's like the kitchen / dining room. And then there's a back door. There's like a small bathroom over like near the back door. And then if you walk straight through, it's the front door, the stairs, the door to the basement, and then they called it like the library is like their formal living room.
If you walked in the front door, would the stairs leading to the next floor upstairs be right in front of you?
Yes.
If you were going to go downstairs, would you walk around that staircase to the back side of it?
I don't believe the back, but the side.
Okay. You mentioned you walked in the side door near the garage. When you walk in the side door, you're in a living room, did you say?
Yeah, their family room, they call it, yeah.
Can you walk into the garage from the family room, or do you need to go back outside to get into the garage?
No, you would have to go back outside.
So there's no door in that family room that leads directly to the garage?
No.
After you walked into the family room, did you stay there or did you go somewhere?
We stayed there for a little bit, like 10, 15 minutes probably.
Tell me who's in the house when you get there.
It's Brian Jr., his mother, Nicole, his sister, Caitlin, and then his aunt, Julie.
What do you do?
I think we were just sitting on the couch, hanging out, waiting to see what the plan was, to see like when other people were going to show up.
Did other people arrive or did people leave before other people arrived?
Brian's mom, sister, and aunt left before anyone else arrived.
Do you know generally around what time his aunt and mother and sister left?
We got there, like I said, between 7 and 8, and they probably left within 20 minutes of us getting there.
Okay.
So I can't say for sure.
When his sister and mother and aunt left, was there just a time when it was you, Julie, and Brian Albert Jr. alone?
Yes.
Were you doing anything other than watching TV? Were you eating, drinking?
I don't think we were eating yet because we ordered later on food, but we might have been drinking.
Tell us what happens over the course of the next couple hours.
So at some point, probably between like 8 and 9, 4 other girls showed up. So Courtney Alba came by herself, and then Catherine Duty, Emily Fabiano, and Mary Kent all came together.
Are those friends of Brian Jr.'s?
Yes.
Did you know who all of them were?
Yes.
Were you friendly with them?
Some of them, yes. We were all friendly, but not friends. That makes sense.
So what's the atmosphere like when the visitors come?
Celebratory, light, joyful. It was fine.
Were people drinking alcohol?
Yes.
Okay. And at some point, did you order food?
Yes.
And did anybody else come at that point? Any other friends or family?
No.
Did one of Brian Jr.'s cousins come at some point?
Yes.
Is that later?
Yes.
So over the course of the next couple hours, eating and drinking, anything significant happen?
No.
Any arguments, any tension, any problems?
No.
Was it a positive night?
Yes.
At some point, did anybody else come to the house?
Later on, yes.
Okay, about what time?
Around midnight.
So before midnight, it's a group of young people having a party?
Yes.
Any trouble?
No.
Did the friends of Brian Albert Jr., the 4 women, did they leave before midnight?
Yes.
What time did they leave?
Between, I would say, 11 and 11:30.
Did they arrive and leave as a group, or did they arrive and leave separately?
The 3 girls that I mentioned that came together, Catherine, Emily, and Mary, all left together. And then Courtney left, I believe, before them separately.
I want you to tell us generally where were you spending most of your time that night? the eating and the drinking and the party?
In the kitchen/dining room area.
Is there a table in the kitchen?
Yes.
Were you sitting at a seat at that table?
At that point, we were more around the island, but later on, yes, I had a seat at the kitchen table.
If you're in the kitchen seated at the table, can you see outside?
Not really. If I looked through the windows above the sink of the kitchen, I guess I could if it was light out. And then the windows to the front of the house had a little half curtain, I don't know what it's called, thing on it. So I could see above that, but not.
If you were to walk to the windows in the living room area, what area was it, did you say, the half window?
The dining room.
If you were to walk to those windows, could you see outside?
Yes.
Would you be able to see the driveway?
Yes.
Flagpole?
Yes.
Street?
Yes.
The door, do you remember the front door, if it was solid or glass?
They have a storm door that's glass and then a solid regular door.
If you opened up the solid door and looked, could you see through the glass door to the front yard?
Yes.
At any point, did you have a chance to look outside that night?
No.
If you're in the living room, the kitchen, can you see where the basement access is?
Yes.
Can you see the backyard door?
Yes.
You mentioned that the visitors, the young woman that came to see Brian Jr. left. After they left, did somebody else come to or arrive at Fairview?
After they left, yes.
And who was that?
It was Brian's father. His name is also Brian. Mr. Higgins. Brian's mother came back, his sister Caitlin, and then his aunt Jennifer and his uncle Matt.
If I can just step back just a little time before the adult group showed up.
Yes.
Did any other of Brian Jr.'s cousins come to Fairview?
Yes.
And who was that?
Colin, but he showed up before the girls left.
He showed up before the group of young women left?
Yes.
How long did you see him stay for?
Probably half an hour, 45 minutes.
Did you get a chance to speak to him?
Yes.
Did the mood change at all in the house?
No.
When the adults came to the house, do you know about what time that was?
Around midnight.
You mentioned that you saw Brian Albert. Is that Brian Albert Jr.'s father?
Correct.
And his mother's name?
Nicole.
You also mentioned a person by the name of Brian Higgins. Did you know him from before that night?
No.
Did you meet him that night?
Yes.
Are you now familiar with who he is and what he looks like from that night?
Yes.
There was somebody else you said, Brian Jr.'s aunt and uncle?
Yes, and then his sister.
His aunt and uncle, what are their names?
Jennifer and Matt McCabe.
Did you know Mrs. McCabe from before that night?
Somewhat.
Had you ever socialized with her?
I don't believe so. I knew who she was. I don't know if she knew my name, but I think she knew I was Brian's friend.
Had you seen her before?
Yes.
Was that in relation to spending time with Brian Jr.?
Yes, I believe so.
Had you ever seen her or spent time with her outside of Brian Jr.'s presence?
No.
How about her husband, Matt McCabe? Did you know
No.
who he was?
I knew who he was, but I don't believe I had ever met him in person before, no.
Anybody else, any other adults come with that group?
No.
Do you remember who came into Fairview first as far as the adult group?
Yes.
Who?
Mr. Albert, Brian's dad, and Mr. Higgins.
And who came next?
Next, I think they all kind of walked in together, Caitlin, Nicole, Jennifer, and Matt.
Other than you, Julie, and Brian Albert Jr., had the young group left at that point?
Yes.
After that group arrived, what happens? Tell us what's happening inside the house.
So it then was Brian Jr.'s actual birthday. So again, we were celebrating. Caitlin, his sister, was playing music on one of the speakers. And we were all pretty much sitting or standing around the kitchen table, talking, socializing.
Do you remember what was being played for music?
Like 70s, 80s type of music. I don't want to overstate
It's okay.
it, but
Were you drinking?
I don't believe I was anymore at that point, no.
Did you feel impaired at all?
No.
As the night grew on, was there any problems in the house?
No.
Any argument?
No.
Any fighting?
No.
Anything exciting or controversy in any way?
No.
Did you have a plan that you were going to leave with Julie?
Yes.
What was the plan?
She said that her oldest brother, Ryan, would pick us up and drive us home when he was done wherever he was.
Did you see at any point before you ultimately left Fairview, did you see your sister leave the did you see Julie Nagel leave the house?
Yes.
Did you actually see her go and leave?
Yes.
About how long did she leave for?
5 minutes or less.
Did you see her come back?
Yes.
After she went out of the house and came back in, did the plan change about a ride home with her brother?
Yes.
What was the new plan?
So a little bit before she went out to talk to Ryan, we were talking, myself, her, and then Jen, were talking about how we were leaving and Julie's older brother was going to come pick us up, and we were the only ones that weren't like related to the Alberts there. So like Brian's friends left. So Jen was like, oh, like, don't leave just yet, because like we were celebrating Brian's birthday. If you want, myself and Matt can drive you home a little bit later. So we agreed to that. And then Jen said, feel free to invite Ryan inside, because he was already on his way. So Julie went out to tell Ryan, like, hey, we're not coming with you. But
You weren't outside for the conversation, so you just heard this secondhand from Julie.
yeah.
So from what you saw, Julie went in and out
Yes.
for about 5 minutes?
Yes.
Why did you decide to stay? Did you want to stay?
Yeah, I didn't mind.
Did the night continue after Julie came back in and spoke to her brother?
Yes.
Was the mood any different than it had been the entire night?
No.
Anything extraordinary or remarkable happen inside that house?
No.
After Julie went out and spoke to her brother and came back in the house, did anybody else come inside the house other than everybody who was already there celebrating Brian Jr.'s birthday?
No.
Did you ever see another man or woman you didn't know come into that house?
No.
At some point, there was a decision that you would leave, I suppose?
Yes.
What time do you think you left generally?
Between 1:30 and 2 in the morning.
Do you have a specific time? Did you look at your watch? Did you know a certain time you left?
No, I believe it was closer to 1:30, because I believe I was home by 2, but I can't say for sure.
When you left, tell us what the weather was like when you went outside. Was it the same as when you came in?
No, it was snowing.
What was the conditions like? Had they changed, the wind or temperature?
Yes. Yeah, it was colder.
How much snow was on the ground at that point when you left?
Like, I don't know, a dusting, or I could still see like some little pieces of grass like sticking out of it. But it was pretty much like the walkway and everything was white.
Did you leave by the front door or the side door?
The front.
You remember that?
Yes.
Was there any type of hazard or difficulty with you walking?
Julie and I walked out together down like the front stoop stairs. And I remember we were arm in arm. I was wearing shoes that didn't really have traction, so I was looking at my feet, so I didn't slip. And other than that, no real hazard, I wouldn't say.
Whose car or vehicle did you walk to?
Jennifer and Matt's.
Did you get in?
Yes.
Which seat did you get in?
The back seat behind the passenger.
And where did Julie Nagel sit?
The back seat behind the driver.
Did the McCabe's get into the car?
Yes.
Who was driving?
Matt. And then Jen was in the passenger seat.
Front passenger?
Yes.
As you were leaving, was there any conversation or joking going on?
Yes. So Matt actually forgot his jacket inside, so he went back in. And then I believe myself and or Julie turned around just kind of looking, and we saw a lone loaf of bread in the third row. So one of us said something to Jen about the loaf of bread, which she had gotten because of the storm. And I believe Jen was turned around looking at us and said something along the lines of, "Does anyone want a peanut butter and jelly?" Joking around.
Do you remember that moment, having the conversation about the bread?
Yes.
It stands out.
Yes.
As you drove out of Fairview, you were in, the McCabe vehicle was in the driveway?
Yes.
Did it back out or go out forward?
No, backed out.
When it backed out and began to drive away, what side of the vehicle was closest to Fairview?
You mean the house?
Yes. Was it
Okay.
I'm sorry. Was the
okay.
passenger side of the McCabe vehicle closest to 34 Fairview, the house, or was it the driver's side?
The passenger.
When you drove, did you drive towards the flagpole?
Yes.
And during those moments when you were, or Mr. McCabe was driving towards the flagpole, was that the time you were having conversations about the bread, or was that a different time?
That was a different time.
What was happening as you were driving past that area, or in front of the house?
I believe maybe I was on my phone, and then Julie said something.
Did you ever look out the window near the front yard, near the flagpole area?
Not like at the front yard, but a little ways up the street, yes.
Next to 34 Fairview, up the street, is 32 Fairview?
I believe so, yes.
When you looked out the window, the first time you looked out the window, what were you facing in relation to 32, 34 Fairview? What could you see?
There's like a little bit of woods in between the two houses, so it was the trees.
Did you notice anything that stood out?
No.
Ultimately, did you get home that night?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Good morning, Ms. Levinson.
Good morning.
You've been longtime friends, as you've described, with Brian Albert Jr., going all the way back to high school.
Yes.
And that high school friendship has percolated into a friendship into adulthood.
Yes.
You obviously know much of the entire immediate family, Brian Albert Sr., his wife Nicole Albert, correct?
Yes.
You know his uncle Chris Albert.
Yes.
You're familiar with his wife, Julie Albert.
Yes.
Obviously, Brian Albert and his cousins. By the way, which cousins are they? Last names.
Do I know?
Right.
There's the Alberts, and then there's the Galvins, the Reardons, and the McCabes.
Okay. You indicated that you've been to the Albert home probably at 34 Fairview. That's the home I'm talking about.
Yes.
Probably you estimated at least 20 times, correct?
Over the years, yes.
Over the years. And you've known Brian Albert since high school. I mean, in the last 8, 10, 12 years, you've been to the house to and from.
Yes.
You've never met, or you had never met, going into January 29th, 2022. You had never met their dog, had you?
Their dog?
Their dog.
I'm not completely sure.
Didn't you testify about a year ago in another proceeding that although you had been to the Albert home many times, you had never actually met the dog?
If that's what it says I said, then yes.
Is that because the dog was not really good with strangers?
Objection?
Sustained.
Do you know why you hadn't met Chloe By the way, did you know the dog's name was Chloe?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know why you hadn't met Chloe in all those trips to 34 Fairview?
No.
Just wasn't out and about among the folks that were in the house when you were there.
Yes.
When you left 34 Fairview, I want to follow up very briefly on a couple of things that you said just before Mr. Brennan sat down under questioning by him. When you left 34 Fairview to join Jen McCabe at her invitation to take you home, you left through the front door, correct?
Yes.
As opposed to the side door. It's a little confusing. The front door has the brick stoop and the stairs, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the door that you normally would leave through, or did you normally leave through the side door, come and go through the side door? What was your more ready habit and practice?
Probably the side door.
Okay. When you left through that front door, there was nothing obstructing your view as you walked out, correct?
Correct.
You could see to the left, the driveway. You could see to the right, over toward the flagpole. Nothing obstructing anything, correct?
Correct.
There was a light dusting of snow at that time when you left just after, what time was it? 12:45, 1?
Probably 1:30,
1:30.
1:45. Yeah.
Got it. So you leave at 1:30. There's still just a light dusting of snow on the ground.
Yes.
The yard is flat.
Yes.
You could see all the way out to the flagpole.
Yes.
You didn't notice anything unusual at that time when you looked out toward the flagpole walking out of that front door?
I didn't notice anything. I wasn't looking out at the flagpole, but yes.
You were looking in that direction when you walk out of the door. Obviously, you're standing, walking out of the door toward the front yard, correct?
Correct. But as I stated, I was looking down at my shoes in front of me.
Okay. Obviously, then you have to, at some point, you have to look up to see where you're going. You have to turn left to go to the driveway. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Then you walk over and walk parallel to the yard again to walk over to the car. Correct?
Yes.
And as soon as you walked out of the stoop, you had to figure out where the stairs were, so make sure you don't fall down the stairs, right?
Yes.
But you're still looking up, like normal, correct? At some point.
Most likely.
My question is, you didn't see anything unusual in the yard, did you?
No.
The front yard was at least relatively, I know it was dark out, Ms. Levinson, it was relatively lit by the interior windows as well as lights on the outside of the house?
Yes.
Okay. You indicated that you did, in fact, get the ride home with Jen McCabe and Matt McCabe. Who brought up giving you a ride home? Was it Jen?
Yes.
Okay. And she also mentioned it, did she mention it in your presence to Julie as well?
About the ride home?
About the ride home?
Yes, in my presence.
Okay. You said that Matt McCabe was driving, but before he got in the car, he realized he had forgotten his jacket and went back in, correct?
Yes, I don't know if he had gotten in the car and then got out, or he just opened the door, but yes.
He was at the car at least.
Yes.
So he had exited, by definition, he had to have exited, pardon me, the house through the front door as you did to go out to the car the first time?
Yes.
And then he got to the car, then realized he forgot his jacket, walked back toward the front door, went back in the main door?
Correct, yes.
You saw that?
Yes.
Then once he retrieved or fetched his jacket, he then walked back out that same front door, down the stoop, looking out over the lawn, and then over to the car, correct?
I didn't see him walk back out, but I mean, probably. I don't want to say yes for sure because I wasn't watching him at that point.
Understood. No reason to believe that he would have used a different door.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Your Honor, may I have just a moment?
Okay.
You were contacted ultimately by law enforcement to provide an interview, correct?
Yes.
That was not until October of 2022. Is that right?
Yes.
A couple of quick questions about that. Nobody contacted you on January 30th, the day after the incident that you left the house, correct?
No.
And when I say nobody, I mean from law enforcement. Nobody contacted you the next week,
No.
the next month.
No.
It was 9 months later.
Yes.
When you were finally approached, who was it that conducted the interview?
State Trooper Michael Proctor.
Okay. Did Mr. Proctor indicate to you why he waited 9 months to contact you?
Objection.
Sustained.
Let me ask you a different question. Were you confused about the fact that you weren't contacted?
Objection.
Sustained.
May we approach?
Okay.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. When you were finally interviewed, let me ask you a different question. When you were ultimately interviewed in October of 2022. Was that telephonically or was that in person?
In person.
Were you alone or was there anybody else with you?
I was alone. You mean like besides the troopers?
Besides the troopers.
Yeah, I was alone.
And had you prepared for that interview with any person or persons before that interview?
No.
Had you spoken to anybody, Julie or anybody else, about the potential for being interviewed?
I believe Julie called me to tell me.
If I may, don't tell me what was said. Did you speak with Julie before the interview? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. And one more question. Without telling me any of the words that were used, was the subject matter the interview? In other words, I'm not asking if you talked to Julie about going and getting the dry cleaning picked up or something like that. Did you talk about the subject of the interview with Julie before you were interviewed?
Somewhat.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Anything, Mr. Brennan?
Briefly, Your Honor. Can I have Exhibit 3, please? Do you see the windows on that house?
Yes.
Do you recognize that house as 34 Fairview?
Yes.
You were asked whether there was light coming out of the house illuminating. Do you remember that?
When I was asked that?
Yes.
Yes.
Was the lights inside the house, from your memory, illuminating the ground near the flagpole and that fire hydrant?
No.
When you came out of the house and went to the car, were you looking at or studying the flagpole area or the bushes or the fire hydrant in that area?
No.
Do you have any reason to be looking over there and studying anything?
No.
Thank you.
I have nothing further.
All right, Ms. Levinson, you are all set.
Thank you.
And your next witness, please, Mr. Brennan.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Commonwealth will call Katie McLaughlin.
You solemnly swear to be able to give the court and jury in the case now and hearing the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Good morning.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Brennan.
Thank you. Ma'am, could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Katie McLaughlin. I'm 29 years old. I work for the town of Canton as a firefighter paramedic.
Did you study to become a paramedic firefighter?
Yes.
Why did you become interested in becoming a paramedic firefighter?
Objection.
I enjoy helping people. I have some family members who work in the healthcare field, and I just always thought it was interesting, and I wanted to do something meaningful with my life.
Did you have to have any special training or education to become a firefighter and paramedic?
Yes, you do about 2 years of schooling. It's divided in between a didactic portion and then a clinical portion in the hospital and ambulance, so it takes about 2 years to finish.
You completed that?
Yes.
Did you become a firefighter at the same time you became a paramedic, or were those separate educations?
They're separate. I became a paramedic first before I became a firefighter.
Did you work as a paramedic before you became a firefighter actively in the field?
Yes, for a few years.
Do you remember about when you first started working as a paramedic?
2016 or 17.
And when did you first become a firefighter?
2017.
Do you remember when you first began working for the Canton Fire Department?
I believe it was May of 2017.
Are you still employed by the Canton Fire Department?
Yes.
In your paramedic training, did you learn how to provide care for people who are in need.
Yes.
Had you, before 2022, responded to different events or people's homes or public locations to help people?
Yes.
About how many calls? Could you estimate how many different calls you had been on as a paramedic or firefighter leading into the beginning of 2022?
Probably hundreds.
I want to ask you some background as a paramedic firefighter, your role as you see it. As a paramedic firefighter, are you part of law enforcement?
No.
Do you investigate crimes?
No.
Do you write police reports?
No.
When you're going to a scene and using your skills to help somebody, are you interested in whether or not somebody was involved or responsible for an event?
No.
What is your focus when you go to a scene to help somebody? What's your priority?
To help the patient, to save someone's life.
Do you have a chance, or do you try to assess the patient, speak to them if they can speak to you?
If we can, yep.
Is there times when the person can't speak?
Yes.
If a person can't speak to you, is there a role that you take to try to get information to help assist the person?
Yes, you would go to a bystander and you try to gather as much information as you can to help the patient. More information for us helps the patient in their treatment, and it helps the hospital when we bring them there.
Is that responsibility or role separate and apart from police work?
Yes.
As a paramedic firefighter, are you involved in police work at all?
No.
Sometimes when you go to a scene and you try to help somebody, you write a report?
In if you're in a particular role, you would write the report.
So when you go and arrive at a scene, is it fair to say you don't always write a report?
Correct.
And the purpose of the report, is that to try to help law enforcement?
No.
What's the purpose of when someone would write a report as a firefighter paramedic?
Depending on the call, there would be a report written by the officer on the call. That's just for logistics and dispatch information, what we responded to, and that's kind of simple. But the other report would be a medical report that the lead paramedic would write.
Were you working on January 29th, 2022?
Yes.
Was that an assigned shift for you?
Yes.
Did you volunteer or ask to work specially that night, or was that already assigned?
Ask it differently.
Was that assignment already set before that night?
Yes.
When you get a shift assigned to you, is it night by night, week by week, month by month?
It's just we rotate through. If you're on a group and you rotate through a schedule, it's set that you work 124, you have 1 day off, you work another 24, you have 5 off, and then the rotation begins again. So it's just a set schedule essentially, but it rotates through the weeks.
Was January 29, 2022 part of your set schedule?
Yes.
When you have a set schedule, are you assigned a specific role in the department that might change from shift to shift?
Yes.
What was your specific role on January 29, 2022?
For that shift, I was on the engine. I was the back step. So there's an engine driver, there's an engine lieutenant, and then there's one person in the back who's just a firefighter status, and we call that the back step.
As the back step that night, did you have any specific or general responsibilities if there was a call?
Generally, if it's a fire-related call, you deal with that. If it's a medical call, you're there to assist the paramedics that are on the ambulance, and you take directive from them. Whatever they ask you to do or need you to do, you're just there to assist them so that they can best focus on the patient.
When you arrive at the scene and you're on the back step, are you basically at the directive of the leader of the group?
Yes.
That morning, around a little after 6 in the morning on January 29, 2022, do you remember a call or a tone coming in?
Yes.
Do you remember what it was for?
It was for a man down in the snow or a man unresponsive in the snow.
Do you remember leaving the fire department that night?
I do.
Tell us as you're leaving what's happening.
So I'm in the engine, the command car with the captain who runs the shift started to 34 Fairview Road first. The ambulance was in front of us, and then we were behind the ambulance.
Did you know the address you were going to was 34 Fairview Road?
Yes.
And when you left the police station, the fire station, when you got on the back of the truck, did you know at that time who lived at 34 Fairview Road?
No.
Tell us a little bit about the conditions outside as you rode to 34 Fairview Road.
It was raining. I'm sorry, not raining. It was snowing pretty heavily. There was definitely snow on the ground at that point. It was windy. It was very cold.
Was there a storm?
Yes.
How long do you think it took to get from the fire station to Fairview Road?
Probably within 5 or 6 minutes.
When you first started pulling up towards Fairview Road, did you see anything?
Police cruisers and a civilian vehicle. And then we pulled up all kind of in front of that.
How many police cruisers did you see as you pulled up to Fairview Road?
I remember seeing one.
There was an ambulance in front of you?
Yes.
Did the police cruiser have their lights on?
Yes.
Not just their headlights, did they have the lights that are often referred to as blue lights or overhead lights?
Yes.
Did you hear any sirens?
No.
How about the ambulance? Did the ambulance have emergency lights?
Yes.
Did you hear any sirens?
No.
The fire truck, does the fire truck have emergency lights?
Yes.
Do you remember if those were activated?
Yep.
Does the fire engine have a siren?
Yes.
Was the siren activated?
No.
Why not?
We only use the sirens to kind of clear cars out of the road. So there's no need to use a siren when there's no cars on the road. So we're not just doing it in the middle of the morning to wake everybody up. It's just unnecessary.
When you first arrived at Fairview Road and you saw the emergency vehicles, did you see any people?
Yes.
While you were still in the fire truck or after you got out of the fire truck?
Probably after I got out.
After you got out of the fire truck, where do you go?
So I knew that they were working on a patient, so I knew they're going to need the stretcher. So myself and firefighter Walsh went right to the ambulance and retrieved the stretcher and brought it as close to the patient as we could.
At some point, did you see the patient?
Yes.
Was it he or she?
It was a man.
Where was he when you first saw him?
He was lying supine on the side of the road, off the curb, like into a lawn.
How close to him were you when you first saw him?
Well, I only made it to the curb where I brought the stretcher. He was maybe from here to that table, maybe.
When you stood on the curb and you saw that man lying, was his feet closest to you, his head, or his side?
His head would be closer to me.
Did you lift the man from the ground?
No.
Did some of your colleagues?
Yes.
After you brought the stretcher or the bed to the side of the road, did you remain there on the side of the road?
They lifted him on the backboard, they put him on the stretcher, and then they pretty much immediately started moving to bring him in the back of the ambulance.
Around the area where you first saw this man lying supine on the ground, was there anything other than ground? Were there any objects in that
I'm
area?
sorry?
Was there any objects near him?
I remember seeing a fire hydrant, and that's all I can really remember.
When you mentioned that he was lying about as close to that table as you, would 8 to 10 feet be a fair estimate?
I don't know that I could say.
Okay. At some point, did you receive further directions from anybody on the team asking you to do something?
Yes. Firefighter Flamati I was at the head of the stretcher with Firefighter Flamati, and he asked me to try to gather more information and kind of see what happened and what's going on.
Did you have someone that you wanted to gather information from?
Yes. There was a woman who seemed to be really concerned and involved with the patient's status, and so I just kind of assumed that this would be the person that I could try to get more information from.
Did you take a guess?
Yeah,
The person that you try to get more information from, do you see that person in the courtroom today?
I do.
Could you point that person out and describe an article of clothing
Black
they
suit.
wear?
Black suit.
And do you see where that person's sitting in between?
I do. Her attorneys.
Did you approach that person?
I did.
Now, you mentioned you're not a police officer or a criminal investigator. What type of information are you hoping to get generally in these circumstances?
Some basic demographic info. You can answer a lot of questions by just asking a few very simple ones. So obviously you're trying to get his name and his date of birth. And then you ask questions if the patient has a medical history, if the patient takes daily medications, if the patient has any allergies. And that's all things that can help to sort of maybe explain why this person is in the position that he's in. For example, if someone says, reported that he had a heart condition or a seizure disorder or he was a diabetic, that would help us sort of, that's relevant information for us for his treatment and to pass on to the hospital.
Did you have a chance to speak with the person that you had pointed out?
I did.
When you spoke to that person, did you get a chance to ask any of those questions you would typically ask?
I did.
When you spoke to the person, what did they tell you?
She gave me his name, his date of birth. She denied him having any medical history or daily medications or allergies. I was kind of moving around. She was moving around the scene. So I was kind of moving around, trying to gather the information with her.
Did she say anything to you in addition to the typical background information that you would try to obtain from somebody?
Yes.
What did she say?
Well, I asked another question. Once we had come to a stop, I asked if there had been any significant trauma that happened that preceded this. And she answered with a series of statements that she repeated. I hit him. I hit him. There was a woman next to us who told her to calm down, stop talking, calm down, you're hysterical. So she repeated, I hit him. And a police officer asked her, said, you what? And she repeated it again, I hit him. And the officer then signaled for his sergeant to come down to the scene or down to where he was.
When she first told you that she had hit him, you said there was another woman next to her. Did you know who that woman was?
Not at the time.
Do you now know who that woman was?
I do.
And who was that?
Miss Jen McCabe.
Did you know Miss McCabe at that time?
No.
Do you know her personally now?
No.
Are you friendly or friends with her in any way?
No.
You mentioned that when the defendant said, I hit him, Ms. McCabe was trying to intervene?
Yes, it appeared that way.
What did it appear she was trying to do?
Trying to get her to calm down, to stop talking. It appeared that she was...
Sustained. Just disregard that comment.
Did Ms. McCabe interject verbally?
Yes.
After Ms. McCabe interjected and the defendant made those statements about hitting him, did you persist in getting more information, asking to clarify what she meant by "I hit him"?
No, I did not.
Why not?
A few reasons. I felt at that point, given the situation and how disturbing, and it was a very emotional situation, the woman was very upset. I didn't feel comfortable pushing and asking for more. I just didn't think that it was the right time for that, and it was also really not my place at that point, and I feel like that was something that the police that's more their role.
Asking follow-up questions about what she meant by "I hit him," would that have helped your diagnosis and treatment of the man in any way?
It could have.
But you made the decision to stop asking her questions?
I did.
Or Mr. Brennan.
Did you ask her any more questions after she said "I hit him"?
I decided not to.
At some point after you spoke to the defendant, did you go back to the ambulance and tell anybody, any of your colleagues?
I did.
And why would you do that?
That's the whole point of me trying to get more information, is that I get the information and I bring it back to the people who are treating the patient. So
Did you go back to the ambulance and repeat that information to your colleagues?
I did.
Did you have any other further role at the scene as far as helping the man or doing anything else
No, other than I drove the ambulance to the hospital.
with the gentleman in the ambulance?
Yes.
Did you learn who that person was?
Yes.
Did you know at the time who it was?
No.
When you got to 34 Fairview, did you recognize the home when you got there?
No.
Did you later learn who lived at that home?
Yes.
Did you know somebody who had lived at that home?
Yes.
Did you know that person lived there prior to that night?
I learned that she lived there.
Okay. And that person that you knew lived there, what is their name?
Caitlin Albert.
How did you know Caitlin Albert?
We went to high school together. We're in the same grade. We have mutual friends, and growing up, we had different friend groups, but those groups would often get together in bigger groups and hang out. I see her in group settings. I socialize with her occasionally. I don't have a personal relationship with her. I wouldn't consider her to be a friend of mine, but I do see her occasionally because of social events. I don't have a one-on-one. I don't have a close personal relationship with her.
Was she a friend on social media back at the time?
Yeah.
Since this event, have you been on any outings or trips with friends of hers or in a group setting where she was present?
I don't remember ever seeing her since then.
Had you ever talked to her about your role that night?
Never.
Did the fact that somebody you knew lived in that house, did it have anything to do with your treatment and care that morning?
Not at all.
When you saw the man in the back of the ambulance, did you make note whether he was missing any clothing items?
He was missing a shoe. A sneaker.
I'd like, with the court's permission, to play Exhibit 4, part of it.
Okay.
Ms. Gilman, if you can start at 6:13:45. Stop, please. Do you recognize whether or not you're in that video, ma'am?
Yes.
What color jacket are you wearing?
I'm in the red and yellow jacket.
Okay, continue, please. Stop, please. There are two yellow jackets, one on the left, one in the middle of the screen. Do you know which one is you?
I'm now in the middle of the screen.
Okay. Continue, please. Stop, please. Do you know who that is on the left of the screen at the flagpole?
Which one? At the.
To the left. If you could play a few more seconds, Ms. Gilman.
It's 2 officers and a civilian woman.
Okay. How about on the left? Do you know who that is?
Oh, no.
And that time is 6:15:12. If you could continue, please. Stop, please. Is that you, ma'am, in the yellow?
Yes.
Okay, continue, please. Stop, please. Do you see yourself on that screen?
Yes.
What color jacket?
The red and yellow.
And who's to your left?
Miss Reed.
And across from you, with the blue or black jacket with the hood. Do you know who that is at this time?
Miss McCabe.
And you didn't know her at the time?
No.
You see the officer that's turned away from you?
Yes.
Do you know who he's speaking to?
No.
Do you know the exact moment that the defendant told you, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him?
I think it was just prior to that.
Okay, continue. Stop, please. Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Okay, Mr. Jackson?
Good morning, Ms. McLaughlin.
Good morning.
You indicated that one of the things that is paramount to the life-saving effort or the medical assistance that you and your colleagues provide is to determine what the cause is of the injury, correct?
To determine, just to gather as much information as we can about his history and like recent events that could have precipitated how we found the patient.
What you said on direct examination was, quote, what happened and what's going on, end quote, correct?
Yes.
So, for instance, the what happened, you want to find out and differentiate what happened. Is it a gunshot?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. When you're asking what happened or trying to determine what happened, for instance, one of the things you're trying to do is differentiate between a gunshot and a knife wound, correct?
Yes.
Or poison or ingestion of a poisonous substance or a heart attack.
Yeah, in this particular,
I'm
this
not asking
scenario,
about
it's...
this instance.
Next question.
Thank you. I'm asking about in general, when you're taking on information, trying to download information at a scene, you're trying to determine, as you said, quote, what happened, correct?
Yeah.
That's important to determine, correct?
Yeah.
You want to get the person's age. You want to get the person's date of birth. You want to get the person's allergies, for instance.
Yep.
But you also, paramount among those, you want to find out what happened. Why are we here? Correct?
Yes.
Did a person fall out of a tree? Or
Right.
stumble down a stair step? Correct?
Right.
In doing so, it's important to relay that information to others as well. You would agree with that, correct?
Yes.
That's the whole point, Ms. McLaughlin. You want to gather the information and then let others know exactly what happened and document that as best you possibly can so that the life-saving efforts or the medical assistance can continue for the patient, correct?
Yeah, you have to share the information that you got with the people who are providing care.
And one of the ways you do that is by writing it down, correct?
No.
Can I ask you, who did you speak with before your testimony today, in anticipation of your testimony today?
I met with the DA's office a few times.
Who at the DA's office?
Mr. Brennan, a witness advocate, and there were different troopers there at different meetings.
What did you and Mr. Brennan discuss at these? Well, let me ask you first of all, foundationally, how many meetings were there?
3.
3. When were they?
One in maybe January was just a meeting. One a few weeks ago, we reviewed the testimony from the last proceeding, and then yesterday, briefly to say that I'm getting called and I'm going today, and if I had any questions.
Let's talk about the one a couple of weeks ago. Where was that meeting held?
At the DA's office.
And you said you reviewed testimony with whom?
I watched the testimony from the first trial. It was Mr. Brennan, myself, a witness advocate, and perhaps Trooper Tully
And
at
you
that
and Mr.
point.
Brennan went over your testimony at the last proceeding, correct?
We just watched it.
Okay.
Yeah.
There obviously were questions about that testimony once you finished watching it, I'm guessing, correct?
I guess so.
Discussed certain aspects of the testimony, is that right?
Yeah.
Mr. Brennan told you that, for instance, he was going to bring out on direct examination, in his examination, your relationship with Caitlin Albert, correct?
He said, I will ask you about the relationship.
And that was in anticipation of me asking about that relationship, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did Mr. Brennan tell you that he wanted to make sure that he brought out that information so that it wasn't brought out on cross-examination by me?
Objection.
Sustained.
What did Mr. Brennan say about the reason he wanted to bring out the relationship with Caitlin Albert on the examination?
There was no reason that he gave.
But he did tell you that he wanted to make sure that y'all covered that on direct examination during his examination, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did he say something like that?
No.
Did you say something like that? I would like this information brought out so it's not brought out on cross-examination?
No.
At the last hearing when you testified about a year ago, that wasn't brought out on direct examination, was it?
Objection.
Sustained.
May we approach?
Okay.
May I continue, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. McLaughlin, we were talking about, very briefly, your testimony about a year ago. In your testimony a year ago, you did not disclose in your initial conversation the fact of your relationship with Ms. Albert, did you?
I object. I move for an instruction.
So the objection sustained. Next question.
Who was it that asked the question about Ms. Albert a year ago?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you tell anyone, Trooper Proctor, any investigator, anybody from the DA's office last year about your relationship with Caitlin Albert?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
No, only when there started to be a lot of harassment and things that insinuations and stuff that started coming out online. I had said maybe once to them that I was concerned I was being harassed.
My question, Ms. McLaughlin, was before the information was disclosed, which was during the first proceeding.
Objection.
Let's hear the question.
Before that information was disclosed during the first proceeding, in any of your interviews with Michael Proctor or anybody else from the DA's office, did you disclose, from the Massachusetts State Police or anybody from the DA's office, did you disclose, did you volunteer that you had a relationship with Caitlin Albert before the first proceeding?
Yeah, I'm saying I told the DA about the harassment and the insinuations. That was before the first trial when I met with them.
How was there harassment and insinuations if it hadn't been disclosed at the first proceeding?
Because it's out there everywhere on the internet and has been.
Before the first proceeding, Ms. McLaughlin, before you ever testified. That's my question. Do you understand my question?
It's been going on since before the first proceeding.
If you hadn't testified at the first proceeding, at which point it was revealed, how could you have ever suffered any harassment for it? It wasn't disclosed yet, Ms. McLaughlin. Do you understand?
I don't think you understand what I'm saying.
Who did you tell at the DA's office?
The relationship that I had with Caitlin Albert had been out there. It had been published and proliferated on the internet. And so that was before the first proceeding.
And who did you tell at the DA's office about this before the first proceeding?
I don't remember who it was or the meeting, but
Was it Mr. Lowry?
it could have been.
Do you have a memory of that?
Not specifically. I don't remember who it was.
Was it Ms. McLaughlin?
Like I said, I don't remember
Not you,
specifically.
obviously, Ms. Laura McLaughlin. No relationship.
Like I said, not specifically.
Let's talk about that initial call to 34 Fairview. You responded to the call of an unresponsive male in the snow. That was early morning hours of January 29th, correct?
Yes.
Once you were there, Mr. O'Keefe had been placed on a gurney and moved to the ambulance. You were instructed to go get information about the victim.
Yes.
You've described in a video the basic scene where you claim that this statement was made by my client, correct?
Yes.
That was a situation in which you're standing there, Ms. Reed is standing there, Ms. McCabe is standing across from you, and there's... Correct?
Miss Reed was on the right, Miss McCabe was on the left, and then there was a officer kind of diagonal across from me.
That person was...
Yes.
This is just a still shot.
Thank you.
Ms. McLaughlin, can you tell me if you recognize the still shot depicted in that photograph?
I recognize me in it, yes.
And when is that approximately, does that does that approximate what you're describing as that time in which you're standing there, I'm guessing in the yellow jacket, Miss Reed's to your right, Miss McCabe's to your left, and there's an officer standing directly across from you?
Yes.
Is this the time that you indicate that that statement was made?
Around this time.
Yeah, I'd like to have that marked as next in order, Your Honor. Court of Commission.
Any objections, Mr. Brennan?
None, thank you.
May I retrieve?
Yeah. 50?
Do you remember the name of the officer that was standing directly across from you when you indicate that this statement was made?
I didn't know, but I am aware now.
But, and by the way, that officer's name is what?
Officer Sarif.
You're describing a situation in which you're standing there, Miss Reed is next to you, within earshot is a uniformed police officer, and she said, I hit him, correct?
Correct.
Then he said, what? Is that right?
So it's, I hit him. Miss McCabe interjected, and then she said, I hit him. And then the officer said, you what? And then she said, I hit him. And he said, go get Goody down here.
Okay, so is that 3 times or 4 times that you indicate she said I hit him?
4 times.
And you, according to you, you indicate that at the time that Ms. Reed made these statements, she was hysterical and somewhat out of control. Is that right?
She was upset. I would say hysterical, yeah.
Did you describe her last year as obviously upset, overly frantic, and almost hysterical?
Yeah, I believe it. I remember that.
Okay. If we could play Exhibit 4,
Okay.
starting at 9, Court Commission, starting at 9:15, about 9:46. Can you stop it? Did you see the 2 people enter from screen right?
Yes.
Who is that?
That would be myself and Miss Reed.
Okay, this is the first point at which you and Miss Reed begin to converge with the other 2 individuals, Miss McCabe and the officer, correct?
I had started trying to gather the information prior to this, and then she was moving around, so I had kind of was following her, asking the questions, and then we eventually came, here to this point and came to a stop.
So your answer is yes. This is the point at which you converged with Miss McCabe and the officer.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Let's go ahead and play it. You can pause it. You see yourself sort of in the foreground of the bright jacket,
Yep.
and Miss Reed's just on the other side of you, correct?
Yes.
Standing there.
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. lights on. Ms. McLaughlin, during that video, that's the time in which you say, or you claimed last year, that Ms. Reed was, in your words, obviously upset, overly frantic, and almost hysterical, correct?
Yes.
Did she look almost hysterical in that video?
She was, well, in that video, that could not explain what that scene was like.
Did she look overly frantic in that video?
She was frantic throughout the whole scene. I think that was me describing the entire scene.
I see.
Yeah.
So she did not look overly frantic in that video.
She was upset, for sure.
Was she overly frantic and almost hysterical in that video? Just now.
I don't know that you could really see from that video.
Did you see anything that appeared to be overly frantic and almost hysterical?
Like I said, that video's not really you can't hear anything, so it's hard to.
Was she running around?
She had been.
I didn't ask you if she had been.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that happened. When she's standing there with you, was she running around?
No, she had just stopped running around.
Was she gesticulating?
I don't know.
Do you know what that means?
I don't.
Was she using her arms and going crazy? With her hands and arms and running in circles?
She had been, but like I said.
She had been.
Yeah, but I
I'm
think
asking you about what happened before you got there. I'm asking you what happened when. I'm sorry.
Question and answer, please.
Thank you. I'm not asking you what happened before we got to that video. Right? I'm asking you about the video in which you described her previously as being overly frantic and almost hysterical. Did she look like she was just gesticulating and moving her arms and spinning in circles?
not in that video.
Okay, thank you. And according to you, that's the point at which Ms. McCabe said, I think you need to calm down, correct?
Yes.
And according to you, that's the point at which Ms. McCabe said, you're hysterical, correct?
Yes.
Just so I'm clear, who in that video, Ms. Reed or Ms. McCabe, appeared to be doing most of the talking?
You cannot see from that video.
Who in that video
I don't know.
appeared to be gesticulating with her arms? My client or Ms. McCabe?
I think Miss McCabe was doing that, saying you need to calm down. You're hysterical.
Oh, the whole time she's gesticulating, she's saying, calm down, Karen, you're being hysterical. Calm down, you're hysterical. And just repeating that?
She was trying to get her to stop and to calm down because of the statement she was making.
I see.
And she was trying to get her to stop, calm down.
I see. Okay. So during that entire video, that was probably 40, 50 seconds or so, maybe it's a minute. That's when you're saying now, Ms. McCabe was gesticulating and saying, calm down, Karen. You need to stop making statements. Calm down. Right? That's what she was doing.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you'll agree that Ms. Reed was standing relatively quietly to your right, not saying much of anything.
No, what she had just said, she had seemed upset when she said that, and what she said was obviously Miss McCabe was trying to convince her that that was not, you need to calm down, stop saying that.
Right in front of a police officer who never said he heard her say it.
Objection.
Right.
Sustained.
You were standing 18 inches, 2 feet from Officer Seraph, correct?
I don't know exactly.
Well, give me an idea. I mean, 2 feet, 3 feet, whatever.
He was standing near me.
And he was standing even closer to my client, wasn't he?
Yes.
At this moment, when you claim to have heard the I hit him repeated 4 times, where was Officer Flamati? I'm sorry, where's Firefighter Flamati and Firefighter Nuttall?
In the ambulance.
With the doors closed.
Yes.
And the ambulance, this is my ignorance, I'm assuming the engine was running.
Yep.
I'm assuming that there's some sort of heating system inside that ambulance to keep it nice and warm for patients?
Yes.
So that was running as well? Mm-hmm. Yes?
Yep.
So with that door closed, those doors closed, how many feet away, by the way, from where we're looking? How many feet away? How many yards away?
I don't know. We were fairly close to the ambulance.
Further than you and I are from each other right now, or closer?
I think closer.
Okay. How about now?
I'm not sure. The ambulance was behind us. I'm not sure how close we were.
Right. At least a few yards.
Sure.
Okay. And those doors are pretty thick, secure metal doors that lock. Is that right?
Yes.
Obviously, when you saw them, I mean, I know you don't know what was happening inside the ambulance, but when you saw them, firefighter Nuttall and firefighter Flamati were engaged in life-saving measures with Mr. O'Keefe, one doing the bag, one doing chest compressions, as they entered into the ambulance, which you did see, correct?
Yes.
When those doors closed, would you presume, from your experience, that those life-saving measures and their focus was on John O'Keefe, that continued?
Yes.
You testified that you went back to the ambulance at some point and you told firefighter Flamati and firefighter Nuttall what you claimed to have heard. You've told this jury, correct?
I went back to the ambulance after that, and I told them what was said and gave them the demographic information that I got.
Okay. So, in other words, firefighter Flamati and firefighter Nuttall heard it from you. You didn't say it to somebody else, and they reported it to those two. They heard it directly from you, correct?
I went back and I said, I gave the demographics, and I said, she's saying I hit him.
Right. So, in other words, they heard that from you.
I gave them.
Objection.
Is that yes or no?
Objection.
She answered the question. Next question.
I want to ask you a couple of questions about your relationship with Caitlin Albert. You were asked at a hearing about a year ago, back in May last year, May 3rd, as a matter of fact, 2024, about that relationship. Do you remember what your answer was?
No, not specifically.
You remember saying, in response to the question, who's Caitlin Albert, asked by me?
I don't remember specifically what I said.
Did you say, I went to high school with someone named Caitlin Albert?
Can I have the page number and line, please?
May 3rd transcript, 10-24, lines 2 and 3. Did you say, I went to high school with someone named Caitlin Albert?
I believe so.
Refresh your recollection, take a look at your transcript.
Sure.
No, May 4th. Wait a second. Let me look. I have May 3.
Okay, thank you.
Brennan.
Thank you.
May I approach?
Yes.
You want me to wait for you to
No,
go?
no. Thank you.
You see that?
Yeah.
May I?
Yes.
Did that refresh your recollection as to what your answer was to the question, who's Caitlin Albert?
Yes.
Did you say, quote, I went to high school with somebody named Caitlin Albert?
Yes.
Ms. McLaughlin, that was not a full and accurate statement of your relationship with Caitlin Albert, correct?
I object.
Was that accurate?
I mean, that's a fact. That's.
Okay, next question.
All right, I'd like to be seen.
All right. Mr. Jackson, why don't you go?
Go
May
ahead.
I? In answer to that question, the open-ended question, who is Caitlin Albert, you didn't offer up in that first initial response, you didn't offer up, you didn't say we're friends, did you?
We're not.
You didn't say that we are in the same friend group, did you?
No.
You didn't say we've been friends since high school.
No.
You said, I went to high school with someone named Caitlin Albert, correct?
Yes.
Almost as if you just saw her name in a yearbook.
No, I don't agree with that.
That's not true, is it? I mean, that wouldn't be true, correct? Because you did know Caitlin Albert.
That is true. And you asked me if I knew her, and I said yes. And you asked me if I'm friends with her, and I said I wouldn't say friends.
You wouldn't say friends.
Right.
Even as you sit here today, you would not say that you're friends with Caitlin Albert.
No.
You wouldn't say that you've been friends for years.
We've known each other for years.
That wasn't my question.
We've known each other for years, but we are not close friends. We don't have a relationship, just her one-on-one. It's just group settings.
You grew up in the same town together, correct?
We did.
Went to the same middle school together.
Correct.
Went to the same high school together.
Yes.
You socialized with her.
Yes.
You've taken day trips with her and others.
Yes.
You've taken beach trips with her and others.
Yes.
Taken 4th of July weekend getaways with her and others.
I don't remember that, but
One of your best friends named Michaela actually lived with Caitlin Albert at college, didn't she?
yes.
And you visited your best friend at that residence where she lived with Caitlin Albert on more than one occasion, didn't you?
Yeah, occasionally I would go to visit the friends that I had there.
You would even spend the night in the apartment with them, correct?
Maybe a handful of times, yes.
You've taken photographs with Caitlin Albert, correct?
I'm in pictures with her, yes.
You've been to baby showers with Caitlin Albert over the years.
I have attended a baby shower with her,
Had
yes.
celebrations with her over the years. Correct?
Yeah, we socialize, like I said, group settings, social events. I will see her.
Your Honor, may I approach?
All right, briefly. Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I approach briefly?
Yes.
May I stay by the witness stand just so I can take the photographs back? Can you describe, first of all, take a quick glance through that series of pages and tell me if you recognize what's depicted in those pages?
Yes.
How do you recognize, generally, how do you recognize those documents? What are they?
Objection.
The objection is sustained.
Are those photographs?
Objection.
Yes. Oh.
The photographs. Next question.
Who's depicted in the first photograph?
Myself.
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you see, does every one of those photographs include you?
Objection.
Sustained.
Does every one of those photographs include Caitlin Albert?
Objection. I'd like a curative instruction.
Sustained.
The reality is, Ms. McLaughlin, your relationship with Caitlin Albert goes back not just weeks or months or years, it goes back a decade or more. Matter of fact, more than a decade.
I grew up we live in the same town, so we went through all the same school systems and everything.
May I approach?
Yes.
If I can have this, please. The reality is you did more with Caitlin Albert than simply go to the same school system. Is that right?
Yes.
One of these photographs has you on vacation
Objection.
with Caitlin Albert drinking, correct?
Sustained.
You've been photographed with Miss Albert on many occasions at many celebrations with your girlfriends, correct?
Like a sidebar, please.
I'm going to allow that.
Is that right?
Been photographed on occasions with that.
On occasions, yes.
That wasn't my question, Your Honor.
Go ahead, ask
My
it.
question was, you've been photographed on many occasions and many celebrations with Caitlin Albert and your girlfriends, that group of girls that we just looked at.
Yeah.
And those include, as we went over just a second ago, 4th of July vacations, correct?
I'm not sure the dates on them.
I didn't ask you about the dates. I don't know the dates either.
Well, I don't know that was a 4th of July celebration. I'm not sure.
Do you see a beach photo with American flags in the background?
I'm objecting.
Sustained.
So you've had, those photographs represent some of the celebrations that you have had with Caitlin Albert and others in your friend group, correct?
I'm objecting.
Sustained.
You've gone on overnight vacations with Caitlin Albert, isn't that right?
There was one that I can remember, one overnight that I can remember with a big group of people.
Who was that? Where was that?
That was in Maine.
It was in Bethel, Maine, wasn't it?
Could have been. It was in Maine.
Have you been to more than one vacation in Maine with Caitlin Albert?
No, I don't know. That's the name of the town. I don't remember.
You've You've indicated that you've had baby showers where you've attended with Caitlin Albert, correct?
I was invited to a baby shower, not Caitlin Alberts, but she was also invited to the baby shower.
Right, and the two of you posed for a photograph together, correct?
We posed around the girl that was having the baby.
Right, you and who else?
A bunch of other girls, her friends.
Right, was one of them Caitlin Albert?
She was in the photo, yeah.
She's standing right next to you in the photo?
She could have been. Is that in there?
Next question, Mr. Jackson.
May I approach?
No. Next question.
You just looked at a photograph of you.
I just glanced through them.
Objecting to this
Sorry.
whole line.
The objection is sustained.
The reality is, Ms. McLaughlin, your relationship with Caitlin Albert is far more than simply somebody that you went to high school with. Isn't that true?
I described what it is.
Do you stand by your testimony that Caitlin Albert is, quote, somebody I went to high school with somebody by that name?
I said that, and I described the relationship numerous times throughout that testimony to clarify it.
And you clarified it under questioning by me, correct?
Yes, and Mr. Lally, he asked follow-ups.
And in fact, you were shown some of these photographs last year, too.
Objection.
Sustained.
The reason you clarified it is because you were confronted with photos of yourself last year, correct?
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. The reason you clarified it, as you just testified, the relationship, is because you were confronted with photographs of you and Caitlin Albert last year, correct?
I just answered the questions that you had.
Right, and you were shown photographs last year.
I was, yes.
There's also another member of the Albert family that you've spoken to about this case, isn't that right?
No.
January 30th, 2022, you were contacted by a member of the Canton Police Department to set up an interview, weren't you?
No, I was not.
You remember being contacted by anybody to set up an interview with Michael Proctor?
The state police called me, and I met with two state troopers. I don't know which one of the troopers called me to set up the interview.
Isn't it true that it was actually a Canton police officer who coordinated that interview with you?
I have no knowledge of that at all.
Isn't it true that the Canton police officer who set up the interview with Massachusetts State Police and coordinated that interview was a detective named Kevin? Do you remember that?
I have no knowledge of that.
Isn't it true that Brian Albert has a brother named Kevin Albert on Canton Police Department?
I know that now.
Isn't that who coordinated your interview with Michael Proctor?
I've never spoken to Kevin Albert, ever.
You can't remember who it was that set up the meeting. How can you say with such specificity?
Because it was the state police called me. The state police called me. It was a state trooper.
Can you wait till I'm finished with my
Hold on
question?
1 second.
Oh,
please.
sorry.
If you can't remember who it was that called you specifically, how can you say with such specificity that you've never spoken to Kevin Albert?
Because I have only ever talked about this case with a state police trooper. So there were two of them there when I went for the interview. I don't remember which one called me, but I've never been contacted by anyone in the Canton Police about an interview or about the case. So I know it's not. I just don't know which state trooper it was that called me.
Did you talk to Mr. Brennan about this issue when y'all met?
No, I did not.
This issue never came up?
No,
About Kevin Albert or the Massachusetts State Police or your first interview?
no.
You remember testifying about this last year?
I remember you asking me about who coordinated the interview.
And now as you sit here, you're saying it was absolutely 100% Massachusetts State Police that coordinated that interview.
I only ever spoke to the state police about that interview. I wasn't contacted by anyone else to go in for that interview.
Are you saying that you now have a specific memory of how that interview was set up and that it was Massachusetts State Police?
My only memory is,
Do you have a memory or do
Can
you
she
not?
answer the question, please?
I don't really get the question.
Can you answer that question?
I don't understand the question.
Ask it again.
Sure. Are you saying, as you sit here now, that you have a memory of how that interview was set up, and it was by a Massachusetts State Police officer?
I always had a memory that it was a state police officer.
Okay.
I don't know which one. That's why I said I don't know.
Isn't it true that last year you were asked that very similar question? This is at 10-56, lines 10 through 15. Question: do you recall being contacted by a completely different officer to say, hey, Trooper Proctor wants to talk to you. Come on to Canton PD. He wants to have an interview. Answer: I don't remember exactly how the interview was set up. Remember that?
Right.
So as you sit here, you now have a specific memory that that interview was set up by Massachusetts police officers.
That's the only memory I have of it. And when I said I don't know, you said somebody other than Proctor, and I didn't know if you were referring to the other state trooper that was there, because I didn't remember specifically who called me to come in for the interview. But I've never spoken to anybody in the Canton Police about that interview or the setup.
In fact, Kevin Albert is Brian Albert's brother.
I'm aware of that now.
You're aware that Kevin Albert is Caitlin Albert's uncle.
I guess so.
How many conversations did you have with anybody before you actually sat down with Michael Proctor? Either in anticipation of setting up the interview or otherwise?
None. I think once I got the call, I just called my chief that they're asking me to come in. And that was that.
And you got the call from whom?
I don't know which state trooper called me.
But as you sit here now, you're very specific in your memory. It was a state trooper.
I only ever met with state troopers, and no one from the Canton Police ever contacted me about an interview, setting up an interview.
During your interview with Michael Proctor, did you disclose to Trooper Proctor that you had a pre-existing relationship with any member of the Albert family?
No.
Did Michael Proctor disclose to you during that interview that he had any kind of relationship with the Albert family?
Objection.
Sustained.
I want to talk to you for a second about your role when you did, in fact, arrive at 34th Fairview, Ms. McLaughlin. How long had you been a firefighter paramedic at that time, January 29th of 2022?
Probably about 5 years.
You said that you'd responded to hundreds, you believe it's possibly hundreds of calls, is that right?
Possibly.
How many were homicides or potential homicides?
None that I know of.
So this would be the first one on January 29th of 2022, is that right?
Yes.
And obviously, if you had never responded to a homicide before, you certainly had never responded to a homicide police officer before, correct?
Correct.
I think you indicated as much on direct examination that you are not and are not now a trained detective, is that right?
Right.
You never conducted any sort of a formal investigation, formal criminal investigation, had you?
No.
You hadn't been trained, you had no advanced training on how to preserve or interpret statements or memorialized statements for evidentiary purposes?
No.
Or for the use in trial, things of that nature?
Nope.
In fact, your role that morning was just to provide medical assistance and pretty much nothing else, is that right?
Yes.
And you'll agree that it was a somewhat chaotic scene, right?
Yes.
Lots of first responders on scene, right?
Yes.
Everybody working furiously, or at least people working furiously to provide life-saving measures to John O'Keefe, is that right?
Yes.
People were talking over each other. There was a cacophony of engine sounds and noises coming from people talking and trying to speak over the wind and the howling, the driving snow and wind that was coming down, snow that was coming down. Is that right?
Yes.
You hear people in the background, in the foreground, people talking over each other.
Yes.
Emotions, your emotions, everybody else's emotions were on high alert. Is that right?
Yes.
So you were trying to do your job under pretty intense pressure and in a very limited context, correct?
Yes.
You didn't have a tape recorder with you when you were asking my client any questions, did you?
No, of course not.
So audio recording of that conversation you claim took place between you and Miss Reed, is that right?
Not that I know of.
And you've already indicated that you didn't even follow up with a single question when she responded in the way that you've indicated she responded, correct?
Yes,
The words you claimed you heard were, "I hit him." Is that right?
correct.
It's your experience that people under pressure, people under stress, because you go to high-stress situations all the time as a firefighter paramedic, correct?
Correct.
People in those kind of situations speak in broken sentences or rhetorical questions, correct? Not uncommon.
People react differently at different scenes.
But you
Yeah.
certainly wouldn't say that that's uncommon. Oh my God, what happened? What happened? Things of that nature.
No.
Did you hear my client ask the question of confusion, or a series of questions of confusion? Could I have hit him? Did I hit him?
I did not hear that.
You never heard her say anything close to, did I hit him or could I have hit him?
I did not.
Ms. McLaughlin, where are your notes regarding this statement?
I don't have any.
Where'd they go?
It's not in the role that I was in, I'm not in a position to write a report on this type of call. It would be the lead paramedic or the officer on scene.
So you didn't write anything down, you didn't have any opportunity to write anything down?
I didn't.
You're just going by your memory.
Yes.
I want to play Exhibit 4, starting at runtime 8:50.
Okay.
Pause it. Just to orient us, can you tell me where you are in that video?
I might be in the middle there, although I didn't get a good look.
With the yellow and the red.
Yes.
Okay. I'd like you to pay special attention, Mr. McLaughlin, to your right and your left hands as this video plays. Could we go ahead and play it? Pause it. What are you looking down at?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I would write like stuff on my glove. That's something I'll do as I'm getting the information. Was that your question about notes?
So you were taking notes.
That's just me jotting down the demographics.
Let's keep playing. Pause it. Is this still the part of the interaction where my client is overly frantic and almost hysterical?
That's the point where your client started to make the statements.
Was she overly frantic and almost hysterical?
She was distraught.
Okay. Overly frantic and almost hysterical. We're using different words. I'm asking you about your words. Does this describe her as overly
I think the overly frantic and hysterical, I was describing the entire scene.
So you'll agree that she doesn't look overly frantic or hysterical?
Again, hard to say from a video, but
And according to you, well, that's actually, Ms. McLaughlin, it's easiest to say from a video, isn't it? It's a video. The best
yeah, I mean,
evidence,
she's
isn't
kind of, she's not totally in view, and I mean, she wasn't standing there calmly, I guess.
it? Right, she looks hysterical to you.
She was upset. She was very upset.
Hysterical?
I might say hysterical. She was extremely upset.
Okay, and this is the point which Ms. McCabe is saying, calm down, you're being hysterical.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and play it. Pause it. So you indicated that this is the point at which, and we can leave the lights down for a second. I'm going to play it again. This is the point at which you said my client had just said, I hit him. basically confessing to having hit John O'Keefe, correct?
Those are the statements she'd made.
And Officer Seraph is standing right there, right?
Yes.
You see any reaction from him right there?
I know he turned and told somebody to go get the sergeant. I don't know if that already played. I'm sorry?
Do you see any reaction from him?
He responded, "You what?" And she repeated it again, and then he told someone to get the sergeant.
I know that's what your statement is. I know that's your testimony. I'm asking about the video. Do you see him reacting right here?
You'd have to play it again. I wasn't looking at that part.
Do you see him handcuff my client?
Oh, no.
You see him call anybody over to handcuff my client?
He turned to signal to get Goody down here is what.
So they handcuffed her?
No.
Right. They didn't handcuff her?
No.
Even though she just confessed in front of a police officer, according to you.
That's what she said.
I hit him. It's my fault. I did it. That's a confession, correct?
She said, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him."
And Officer Seraph just stands there, and my client walks away, correct?
You'd have to talk to Officer Seraph about that.
Oh, we have.
You should.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Objection.
So let's move on. Mr. Jackson, I'm not rushing you, but how much longer do you think you'll be?
Not long.
Okay, so,
I can wrap it in a couple of minutes.
okay.
Toward the end of this video. Go ahead.
Are you playing it again, or should we put the lights on?
If we can play it again.
Okay.
Continue. Pause it. You appear to be writing something down,
I could be.
and according to you, you're writing on your glove.
Yes.
Okay. What kind of glove?
Just a regular latex glove that we use on the ambulance.
You didn't have a notepad?
I probably did. Sometimes it's easier to just write it down on your glove.
Right. Did you write, "I hit him" on your
No, I did not.
phone plan? Still appear to be writing something down, looking down at your glove?
I might be looking at it.
Can you pause it? Is this also an example of my client being overly hysterical and frantic?
Oh, I wasn't paying attention to her.
You can have the lights up. Whatever it was that you were talking to Miss Reed about, it was important enough that you had a pen out. You were writing things down, correct?
Well, I was still finishing writing down some of the other.
Yes, no. It was important enough.
Yeah.
To write things down. Yes, or no?
Yes, I wrote down some of the things that were said.
Some of the things that were important, correct?
Yes.
For instance, you'd write down John O'Keefe. That's his name, right?
Right.
You might write down a circle with a slash through it, allergies, no allergies, right?
Right.
You might write down 46 for his age.
Right.
You might write down how he was injured, hit by a car, correct?
I did not know that was. Well, I didn't know what those statements meant.
You might write down 3 little syllables that was just told to you. I hit him, especially if it had been repeated 4 times as you climbed, correct?
Yeah, I had that in my head, and I was going to go tell them that.
And you had a pen right in your right hand writing things, correct?
Yeah.
You never wrote that down, did you?
I wasn't going to write that statement down on the glove. I remembered that, and I went back to the ambulance and told them.
You didn't memorialize that statement on any note that we have, correct?
No.
You didn't memorialize that statement on any glove that you were wearing, correct?
No.
Whatever you wrote down on that glove, where is that now?
Yeah, I don't have it, obviously.
I don't know how obvious it is. What'd you do with it?
You just scratch everything out and you throw out the glove.
Threw it away. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that yes?
Yes.
So we don't know what was actually on or not on that glove, do we?
I didn't write those words down on that glove.
As we stand here, we don't know what was or wasn't on that glove.
Name, date of birth, no meds, no history, no allergies. And then I wasn't writing that statement down on the glove. I went back to the ambulance and just reported it.
And importantly, it was important enough, as you say, to go back and report the statement, but not important enough to write it down with that pen that is very conveniently in your right hand, correct?
It's not about importance. I was relaying that information to the ambulance verbally. I didn't need to write it down.
And you, in fact, didn't write it down, did you?
No, I didn't make a report about it.
And you're also aware that not a single police officer out at the scene wrote that down either.
Objection.
Sustained.
That's all I have.
Mr. Brennan, can you do a redirect in 5 minutes?
I can.
Okay.
Ma'am, when Mr. Jackson would show you part of your testimony from a prior proceeding, was he leaving something out when he was showing you that and asking you questions?
Sustained.
When he asked you about whether you knew Caitlin Albert, and you said you went to high school with her, did you immediately then answer questions describing that relationship?
Correct.
Watch the form.
Were you asked immediately other questions about the relationship?
I explained the relationship over and over again throughout the testimony.
In fact, you described the relationship over 20 times, didn't you?
I'm sure it was that many.
You didn't simply just say, somebody named Kate. I went to high school with somebody named Caitlin Albert. You didn't leave it at that, did you?
No, I didn't.
Do you remember saying, I would say more acquaintances, not close friends?
Right.
Do you remember immediately saying after that, I would say we had mutual friends. We might see each other occasionally because of mutual friends, but we don't have a one-on-one friendship or hang out regularly?
Right.
Objection, Your Honor.
I'm going to allow it.
You remember many more statements after that initial answer where you described the relationship.
Yes.
Similarly, you were asked about a meeting with the state troopers,
Yes.
and the attorney asked you a question about your memory or suggesting that Mr. Albert set up the meeting. Do you remember those questions?
Yes.
You were asked questions just like that before at the last hearing, weren't you?
Yes.
Remember being asked about who set up the meeting and you saying that you didn't recall?
Yes.
And then you remember being asked about whether a completely different officer set up the meeting, and you said, I don't remember exactly how it was set up,
Yes.
followed by, so that was my next question. You may have told me this. Do you have any recollection who set that interview up, and you said you didn't?
Right.
And you were specifically asked, does the name Kevin Albert sound familiar?
Objection, Your
Do
Honor.
you remember saying no?
The objection sustained.
Do you remember when you were asked at the last hearing, does the name Kevin Albert sound familiar? Do you remember what you told Attorney Jackson?
I told him no.
And then you were then asked, do you know Kevin Albert? Do you remember your response?
I said no.
When you were there trying to help the gentleman that was on the ground, did you know this would become a homicide investigation?
No.
Did anybody tell you this was a homicide?
No.
In fact, when you spoke, or the defendant spoke to you, you were simply trying to get background information to help Mr. O'Keefe. When she told you, I hit him, did she say that she hit him with something?
No.
Did you know whether it was with a fist or a foot
No.
or a Lexus?
No.
You mentioned this was not part of your role to investigate. Why didn't you persist? Why didn't you follow up and ask more questions about that statement? What about the situation and the dynamics caused you not to ask questions?
Sustained is to that.
Why didn't you persist in getting more information from the defendant when she said, I hit him, I hit him?
I felt bad for her at the time. It was a very disturbing scene, and I did not want to push further down that road. It's not my job, and I didn't feel comfortable doing it.
Write those statements down on your glove?
No.
Then how do you remember she made those statements?
I won't ever forget those statements.
I have no further questions.
Anything, Mr. Jackson?
Very briefly, that was a disturbing scene, you said, correct?
Yes.
An emotional scene.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
A scene that was upsetting.
Yes.
A lot of people,
Yes.
For a lot of reasons, right?
Yes.
And that's when things start getting missed. When emotion starts playing a role, correct? That's when details start getting missed.
I guess it depends on the situation.
Right, but this was a disturbing, emotional, upsetting scene even for you, correct?
I felt that for a civilian to see it, it was very disturbing for them.
Probably wasn't great for you either, was it?
It's not.
Yeah. And your testimony is you never heard my client say, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? Correct? You never heard that.
I didn't hear those questions. No.
What you heard was, I hit him. Is that right?
I heard him. I hit him repeatedly.
And changing gears for a quick second, I'm almost finished, Your Honor. You did ultimately start talking about your relationship in more detail with Caitlin Allen under my questioning, didn't you, after that first date? Is that right?
Yes.
That's when I started showing you photographs, correct?
Objection.
Was that when you were seen showing photographs?
I don't know. I described it so many times. I don't remember.
But you knew I had information that I was going to ask you about.
Objection.
Sustained.
No.
Objection.
Finally, with regard to Kevin Albert, did Trooper Proctor tell you during that interview that he had texted with with Officer Kevin Albert about setting up your interview? Did he tell you that?
I have no knowledge of that.
Did Trooper Proctor tell you that the reason we're here, the reason we set this up is because Kevin Albert texted me that he had already coordinated with you?
Never. No.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, Ms. McLaughlin, you are all set. Jurors, I appreciate you going a little later until lunch to just finish the witness. So why don't we do that? I'll give you 45 minutes, come back at 5 minutes past.